Hey, everybody. Welcome back to the Cray Show with Chris and JRuss. And I hope that you're prepared for the most consequential hour that you're going to have this week.
The most I don't know if I've ever heard anybody use consequential. I mean, inconsequential. I hear that all the time. Not all the
Yeah.
time, but that's
No,
nice. Good job. Nice,
this hour is going to be important.
nice vocab. I love
Yeah.
it.
My subscription to Jugs Magazine is finally paying off.
You good? You can read all those articles. Just slip that in there. That's
Yeah.
good. Very good.
That's
Okay.
actually, I ripped that off from a Bruce Willis movie from back in the day, but I thought it was hilarious in that movie.
What movie?
I can't remember. It was one of the Wayans brothers was a football player, and Bruce Willis was like this crusty old,
Oh, dude, you're
kind of like
talking
a
about
private detective.
yeah, the movie starts off on the football field. Somebody gets shot, right? They shoot somebody on the.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
what is
somebody's
that
drugged
called?
out. And, but
I
I thought
know.
it was a good movie. But
Yeah, I mean that was like a early '90s
yeah,
movie, right? Like that. That's how all
just
those movies were
some
back
good
then.
one-liners. Like the Damon Wayans or whichever Wayans it was walks in, and his daughter is kind of a crusty kid as well, and he's got like 34 shaved into his hair. And she's like, "Oh, that's great. Is that your football number?" And he's like, "Yeah, it's my number." She's like, "Oh, when do you graduate high school?" Like, just super funny little kid.
The Last
Yeah, I
Boy
don't.
Scout.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that was a good one.
I had to look it up.
Yeah, I don't actually have a subscription to Jugs Magazine or any other porn magazine.
Dude.
Yeah. All right. So has it been 2 weeks? We didn't record last week.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Last time we recorded was with Matt Renault.
Yeah, that was a good one, man. He was really fun to talk to.
Yeah. Really interesting guy.
Yeah, and he's part of that crew. You know, he's just very reminiscent of the guys that we work with. Like, I mean, if you just look at him, he's in the video. He's a good athlete. You can see that, like the shape of his body, and he works out. And I know he's a strength and conditioning coach, and he's really well spoken. And those are the guys that we work with. There's no dummies. They're all really good athletes, and they're all really sharp guys. And that's the only way they make the cut.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's that was a great one. Very similar to your cousin, where I could have just listened to him talk and talk and talk. So hopefully we can have him back on at some point.
Yeah, I hope so. Both of them, maybe.
Yeah,
and we need to get Jack Lane back on again, man.
Yeah, I'll work on setting that one up because Kurt wanted to have a follow up, and Sean Kennedy actually said, I don't know if you remember Sean. He watched our cast and then messaged me a couple days later, the first time when we had Jack's video, and messaged me a couple days later and was like, "Man, I got into it, and I don't know what I would have done if I didn't watch the cast, and I got out of it."
No way.
Yeah, it was super cool. And so I asked him.
Who told you that?
This guy Sean.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
Different buddy. He comes to our big weight camps all the time. He's a real good flyer and a serious canopy pilot. And I saw him. I think he came to our camp in Florida a couple months ago. And I was like, "Hey man, we're gonna have a follow up. Were you wearing video for your thing?" And he said, "I think he said he had 360 footage going."
Yeah.
So I suggested he might join us, and I don't know if Dante would want to come again, but yeah. Jack would love to be on again. And
I think it'd be really good.
When Jay went in a few weeks ago, I reposted the link to that, and as it turns out, Jay did not spiral lock.
Okay.
Sadly,
he just one in Arizona.
Yeah, he just turned super low. And I don't know how this is going to sound to people who don't do high performance turns, but there's definitely times when I've done a turn that I know I'm starting a little bit lower than I want to be. And so the fix is to speed up the turn rate to get the turn. Like say instead of 1,000 feet, I'm at 900 feet. So I know that my beep went off, but I wasn't at the right entry point. So I speed up the turn rate, and that works to a point, and then it doesn't work at all. Because if you're a little bit low, that can be a possibility. If you're really low, that kills you. And I think that's what happened to Jay, is that he was pretty uncurrent. I don't think he had jumped in 3 months.
Mm.
He was doing a swoop in front of the crowd of people that had just run his swoop competition. They had all participated, and he was wearing estimated 35 pounds of lead. And the person that I spoke to who helped with the investigation and looked at the video was like, man, he was so low, and then he threw another 360. So there were a couple of Golden Knights on the scene who were both mutant pilots, and they had gotten back to me. They saw the posting of, hey, I don't know exactly what the accident was, but it's always good to stay vigilant on this. And then through another Golden Knight, that Golden Knight messaged me and said, hey, I don't think it was spiral lock, and it ends up that I don't think that it was. But
Man.
anyway, that'll be just something to, I mean, I think that's going to be good just to keep having those talks about and keep that issue kind of, I don't know, in the zeitgeist, so to speak.
Yeah.
But I'll work with those guys to get that set up. Maybe we can.
Yeah.
Man, I got shut down left and right today. So I asked Sally Finley first. She's
Oh, you're just going to call people out right now.
yeah, but they're all gonna join us. They just couldn't do it this week.
Yeah.
Sally said she actually wanted to watch more of our podcasts to like be prepared. She said she's only seen a couple, and she and her husband do regularly like 4 and 8 way belly jumping at Scottish Chicago, and then they also do big way stuff, and they're just a cool freaking skydiving couple. And yeah, I don't know where she's probably got 7 or 8,000 jumps, something like that. And she's fun to talk to. Might have her husband on at some point as well.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, a couple guys that I work with shot me down. The guy that runs the DMT and Ibogaine clinic in Mexico, man, we're trying. I really want to have Kevin on here, and
Dude,
our schedules just are not lining up.
I mean, nothing to do with skydiving, but that sounds so interesting. I want to talk to him.
And I mean, it's kind of dovetails with a little bit with the podcast we had with Erica, but very similar kind of healing methodology for what he's doing, and it's not exclusive to vets, but the intent is to help vets with their recovery.
Wow. Okay, on the note of that stuff, the DMT, all that stuff, Ibogaine. So Ibogaine, what is Ibogaine? They make a tea out of that? How do they do that?
I don't even want to say because I don't know enough about it. It's a powerful hallucinogenic, and very similar to mushrooms or acid or but
it is, you would put it in the same category as mushrooms.
Yeah, but kind of on steroids. Like,
because what that made me think of, what I was going to say is that, and this is just completely side note, I've over the past 6 months, I've had, I'm going to say 4 or 5, a handful of conversations with different people, like other Christians and people who I know, like faithful, God love, like Christian, good Christian people that have either already tried mushrooms, that have done mushrooms and saw the value and benefit from it for themselves, but also in a spiritual sense, or they have, at least they were talking as in a way that they're very open to it and see the value and benefit of it. It's just very interesting to me to talk with, religious people, Christians who were open to that and already experienced it, and in a very positive way, and didn't see it as, at least for those individuals, it wasn't a problem for them to reconcile that with their faith and belief in God and their relationship with Him and the church. It's very interesting. What do you think about that?
Well, for sure, I don't see a dichotomy there. Like, if you're religious, you can't think about these other things. I know traditionally, or I think traditionally, I don't know what I know, but not very much. But traditionally, religion has been sort of a gatekeeper on substances that you might put in your body, and that seems to be like a tenet of most faiths. That Mormonism is like you can't even drink coffee in the Mormon religion because caffeine is a drug. And I, I, yeah, I'm definitely encouraged to hear people just be open minded about it. Like, especially in my world where a doctor could, like, I just had hip surgery and they wanted me to take oxy something for the pain, and I'm not going to take it. Like, I took one the day of surgery, and I and said no to and that was in the hospital, and then no to the prescription afterwards because your whole life can just derail right there. And that's a
Yeah.
doctor. He's a super nice guy. He did a great job in the surgery, and he's telling me this is what you need for the pain. And so when that's okay for religious people, that a doctor can say that could melt your life, and you really don't know if you're one of the people. I mean, sometimes people know, but a lot of times you don't know if you're the person who it's going to sink its hook into until you try it, and then it sank its hooks in, and you're in bad shape. I know for a fact that morphine based or heroin based things don't sit well in my body. Like I itch really bad, and I don't want to take them, but I just kind of got lucky in that genetic roll of the dice that the first time they gave me Percocet, and I had no idea how bad that could have been, was after my first knee surgery. And I took one or two, and I was like, oh my God, I don't know what the shit is, but I can't take it anymore. And just stopped and went back to ibuprofen. So it is really encouraging to hear just an open-minded approach to this thing, mushrooms that grow naturally all over the world and have this substance in them for no reason we can explain. Like, it doesn't do anything for the mushroom, but it does tremendously good things for human beings, which is, I mean, if you're a God person, didn't God make that?
Dude, that's exactly what I thought.
Like,
It would make
and
sense that it would point to him.
yeah, I mean, I don't know how you could look at it another way. I mean, God didn't make meth. That's a humanly derived
Yeah.
drug from different constituent parts that are around. But this is just a fungus that grows on the ground, and anybody can go find it in the woods. And if you know, I know it's been many years for me of having those kinds of experiences, and it changed who I am, and I hope in a positive way. I mean, knowing the pathway I was on, I think it's 100%. I can say it was a positive outcome. So, ibogaine, psychoactive alkaloid, extracted from plants. Um, First described in 1956. Uh, it's from the root bark of the iboga tree. Um, First discovered by Pygmy tribes of Central Africa who passed the knowledge to the Bwiti tribe of Gabon. French explorers learned of it and brought it back to Europe. Uh, So during an 18-year timeline, 19 fatalities temporarily associated with the ingestion of ibogaine were reported, from which 6 subjects died of acute heart failure or cardiopulmonary arrest. Its prohibition in many countries has slowed scientific research. So I think that's one of the reasons why the FDA has said that it's not legal. And you have to go, if you want to have that ceremony, you got to go outside the U.S., which is like Kevin's clinic is in Mexico. But certainly their knowledge of that potential issue would mean that they've got medical staff on site, and they're watching very closely for signs of that. But
Yeah.
where like mushrooms are, if you have that experience, 4 hours, 6 hours, probably 8 hours would be a super long one. Acid, 8 hours is probably about right. Ibogaine is, as I understand it, I've not tried it, 22 hours of very intense introspection. And
Wow.
that dose is actually called the heroin dose, because it is the one that they give to people who are struggling with addiction issues. And you, as I understand it, come out the other side of that experience not addicted. And if you went in there for heroin, but you're also smoking cigarettes, you're probably not smoking cigarettes when you get done.
Gosh.
And so, I mean, yeah, 19 people died, which sucks. How many people died last year of opium overdose, whether
Mm-hmm.
legal or scoring smack on the street? Like, but the FDA says that one's okay, and the Sackler family can make $9 billion off of the misery of hundreds of millions of people. But this thing that can potentially cure you of addiction, like you're not addicted to anything anymore. And I know, I think that Kevin's clinic, you have a very difficult 22 hours. The experience is intense, and then you have a what's called 5-MeO DMT, which is like just this warm hug after you're done, and it doesn't last super long, but just bringing you back to a feeling of like everything's okay. Um,
Hmm.
and anyway, with respect to a lot of guys that come back from their work for the country, and that sometimes includes ending the lives of other humans. They need to find their way back, and it's a bummer that they've got to skip off to another country, and they can't. The country that they just
Yeah.
served won't let them be better. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but anyway, I mean, man, those Christian friends of yours are the kind of. I mean, there's some Christian people that I don't think are incredibly Christian, and those kind of people sound like the people I'd like to hang out with. Like our beliefs are different, but you've got an open mind as far as
Mm.
how to best get yourself through this life.
Yeah. Well, also back to your what were a minute ago, that just a list of potential guests.
Mm,
I've got a guy that I want to invite to be on the show. I met him up in New Mexico when I went up to an event and was organizing, and he had a free flying accident where I don't remember all the. I mean, he when he comes on, he can tell us all the details, but basically just did a really low maneuver and it ended up hitting the ground really hard, jacked
canopy
himself
accident.
up. Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Um, and he told me a little bit about his story. It was very interesting. Like, really hurt himself pretty significantly, but has taken the time to take care of himself, come back from it, and he's back in. Like, we jumped together at the boogie, and um, he's really. It's kind of refreshing to talk to him because it just his perspective and his humility and the way that he's like looking at everything and the way he's approaching even skydiving. I mean, he was already skydiving beforehand, but it just really interesting. I was like, man, dude, I'd love to have you on our podcast just to share your experience, talk about that accident and what you learned from that, and but also just kind of how it also changed his perspective and the way he looks at progression and pushing himself and taking risks and all that stuff. Like, it's really changed the way that he uh, the way that
Yeah,
he the way that he receives coaching and advice from others and who he listens to and doesn't listen to. And like, I mean, it had a profound impact on him in a very positive way. So
yeah,
hopefully he can be on.
that would be great. I think that those moments, long moments when you're hurt and you can't really do anything, and all you can really do is sort of dive into your own head and think about what you did and sort of the pathway to that accident and not the broad picture of what got you there, and then the specific moments of what got you there. And I think even the most unobservant person with 3 months of traction and rehab would go over those decisions and hopefully have some introspection. But
Yeah.
yeah, coming out the other side when you're like you realize how easy it is that you could have not been here anymore, and
Mm-hmm.
but you're still here, and for
Mm-hmm.
whatever reason, maybe you got lucky and maybe you did the right thing even after you fucked up. But you get another shot to be better.
Yeah. Yeah. And it made me, well, then this is connected but a different story. But the other day, Tanya, my wife, so she teaches third grade, I think you know that, and she said in her class they did some activity, and she said she asked him something about, oh, okay, I want to talk about who made a mistake. If you made a mistake, I guess they had just graded the paper or something. Like, if you made a mistake, raise your hand. And so this one little boy raised his hand, and she goes, okay, what was it? And so he shared his mistake, and shared with the class and everything. She's like, okay, great. Now go put your name in the, it's like a reward box. I don't remember what they call it, but it's a really good thing. And when he did that, she said immediately, like 5 other kids raised their hand, wanted to share their mistake.
Yeah.
And she's really good about that in her classroom, like encouraging them that it's okay to make mistakes. Like, that's how we learn. That's how we get better. That's how we grow. And so, but that she also encourages them to share their mistakes with each other, with their classmates, so that everybody can benefit from it and learn from it. And I think, I don't know about all the time, but a lot of times in skydiving, we do that. Some people more than others or better than others or whatever. But that made me think. I was like, man, it's I really enjoyed that aspect of this podcast, and what we do is having people on, hearing their stories, hearing whether it's a mistake that they made or just an accident that we can all learn from. And I really like that about skydiving, but I like that about what we're doing. And it made me want to just put it out there, like, hey, anybody, if you're listening, if you're a listener to the show, um, send me an email, shoot us a message or something, and share with us a mistake that you've made in skydiving, and we'll we'll read it, we'll look at it, and man, maybe we can even have you on the show and talk about the mistake that you made and what you learned from it, and how we can learn from it too, and make the whole community better.
Yeah. I don't know how long it took me to realize that if you're a human being, you're making mistakes. Like, it's just part of life. But that acknowledgement of an axiomatic fact that's true for everybody. There was this one guy that walked on water that maybe didn't, but other than that, if it wasn't him, then everybody else, you're messing up on a regular basis. And then you try and do your best, and hopefully you learn from those mistakes. And speaking of that, did you know that there was a plane crash in Dubai?
No.
Yeah, only the pilot on board. The pilot's a good friend of mine. He, if you've never been there or seen the Palm Drop Zone's runway, it's built like a pier out into the water. And
Okay.
the original runway was 400 meters, I think. No, it was feet. It was retardedly short. It
400 feet.
yeah, it was super, super short. And in fact, when they made the desert drop zone, we went out and marked like, this is what you've got. And you needed to train in the desert before you could go over the palm, and this is it. This is the line. Like, and we did an event in Dubai when we were still living there with, some of the best flyers in the world. And the wind kicked crosswind when the runway was still really short, and we skipped off the rocks at the rock barrier for the ocean at the end of the runway. Like, we went and looked. Everybody was laughing, and me and Steph were just like, "Holy shit, we almost just died!" Like, I don't.
You're saying on takeoff?
Yeah. So they had like a
Surely it's 400 meters, not feet.
man. I'll
Because 400 meters, that'd only be 1,200 feet, and that sounds short.
yeah. I would have to reconfirm. An otter is made for short takeoff and landing. Like, that's what they're offsite. Like, that's what they're
That's
made
their
for.
design. Yeah. Wow.
But yeah, that was pretty sketchy. But anyway, so Sky Dubai redid the runway. The cost was so crazy. But it sticks out like a pier out into the ocean. And the pilot was coming in and had like just crazy winds coming off the water and got a downdraft. And they caught the nose was still high, but caught the back two wheels and ripped them off the plane, and then came to a skidding stop on the runway, which apparently he did a real good job after that to not die, because the plane was, the buddy that talked to me was saying it was like a movie. Like, if you just breathed on it, it was going to tip over and go into the water. And so my friend got out, and I talked to him today for the first time in a little while. My camera just went fuzzy. He actually got jailed after the event. for a few days, and then had to like get back out of jail. Oh, there it
He
goes.
got put in jail?
Yeah. Um,
What? I don't understand.
I'm going to leave those details out just
Okay.
for his privacy.
Okay.
But
All right.
yeah, he did. I got to talk to him today, and he was pretty stoked to have his freedom back. Um,
So physically, though, he was okay. He wasn't injured.
yeah, physically he was fine.
Wow.
Sorry, my phone wasn't on silent. Um, yeah, and only him in the plane, and it should be a repairable. The damage should be repairable, so that's always nice. But when I first talked to him, he's like, "Man, JRuss, I fucked up." Like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, but he's still here, and you get a chance to try and be better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that we haven't had a pilot on the show, have we? Have we?
No, and actually, that's a really good
We
point
should.
because, God, what was his name?
I
Jackson.
mean, that would be really. I mean, we need to do that. That'd be really good for all of us, just to hear.
Yeah, but
What are the things that pilots wish we all knew? What do?
yeah, there's also a guy, Dave Schwartz, who he was the chief pilot at Skydive Dubai. He's got tens of thousands of hours in an otter, and he has a podcast that I've been on a couple of times, called Skydive Radio.
Yeah.
And he actually gave me some feedback about our podcast, and but he'd be great. And then actually, I don't know if I'm pretty sure I told this story, but there was a caravan crash in Dubai a bunch of years ago, and that pilot is not flying for Skydive Dubai anymore, but he's still jumping there. And I met him. We did a camp there last year or 2 years ago, and I met him for the first time, and I was like, dude, well done. I mean, he put the plane down in sand dunes with a totally chunked engine, and that he was not able to feather, and so the prop was actually air braking, and he still put it down. I think somebody broke their wrist, and that was it. And I,
It was a full load, like a full plane.
yeah,
Wow.
and I mean, he did a freaking great job. So he'd also be a good guy to have on.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
And then there's, do you know
Absolutely.
Dean Ricci? He does a podcast called The Lunatic Fringe.
That sounds familiar.
He was chief pilot in Dubai for a number of years, and
Okay.
he was there when I was there, and so we have had a relationship. He had me on his podcast years ago as well, so he'd be another good one.
Yeah. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
So CH showed up. She's hustling around. So
Yeah, I hear.
the day that I had surgery, I came home from the hospital, and I can't do anything, and I'm a little bit drugged up, and so I ended up sleeping on the couch because I didn't even want to try the stairs, and we weren't sure exactly what to do with her. Normally, she sleeps in a little carrier next to the bed, but that night, since I was totally immobilized, if I moved, like rolled to my side, it hurt, and so even in my sleep, I was laying on my back and facing forward. She cuddled up on my neck and slept there the whole night. And she tucked her little head into her wing. And I mean, pretty much the cutest thing you have ever seen in your life. And it was like, of all the places in the house, that's where she chose to sleep. It was pretty cool. Right, little girl? She's up on the camera right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see her wing a second ago.
Yeah.
She was right in front of the camera.
She just puffed her wings out, so that means she probably pooped. But
we see it dripping down the lens.
So for everybody out there, this is her new favorite thing. She wants to pick my nose. So we get up in the morning, and she always takes longer to wake up than me and Steph, or even Mia, and she'll come flying down, and she'll perch on my arm like she is right now, and just look up at me, and I want to pick your nose. And that's what she's saying first thing in the morning. It's hilarious.
Oh man,
she's a star. Yeah. What else did I? Oh, okay. So I reiterate a lot of information that I hear on Joe Rogan because it's my favorite podcast, and I don't really have time for a lot of other podcasts. But like the place that we're staying right now is my teammates' land. So we're in a bus. We've talked about that, remodeled the bus, whatever. We're parked on his property. It was like his house is way up on top. And he's one of the guys that turned me down as being a guest today, but he'll be on later. So his house is up on top, and then you walk down the hillside, and then we're on the lower lot, and like we can see his fence, but not his house, and he certainly can't see us. So it feels very private. We both get this great view of overlooking a valley of Tucson called Catalina, and he wanted a project done of the lower lot. Basically had two levels that were about 20 feet apart, and we're parked on the lower part, and then he basically wanted one level, and I was like, well, man, it's a lot. He's got a Kubota utility tractor, so it has a backhoe attachment, and then it has
Mm-hmm.
a front bucket, and then they also got a grader for the road because there's no county maintenance out here. So I've been basically tearing down the hill and then scooping it up and putting it on the other side so that he gains land on the uphill side and he gains land on the downhill side. All of it is going to be flat, and he wants to put like shipping container homes. So the whole point of that stuff was that when I'm doing that tractor work, I throw on Joe Rogan after Joe Rogan after Joe Rogan, because I'm going to be out there moving dirt for 12 hours and I'll get 3, 4, 5 podcasts out of that. But I listened to one last week that I then forwarded to my best friend, is like, buddy, you've got to listen to this. And I think this is like similar to the one where the guy who retro engineered the alien craft, like everybody should listen to that guy just for the possibilities. But there's a show on Netflix right now that they're filming called the Telepathy tapes. Have you heard of this?
No.
Okay. So it's a collection of hundreds and thousands of non-speaking autistic people. They have a thing called apraxia, which means they've got a real disconnect between their mind and body, but they're in there and they have telepathy. Beyond any doubt, they can read your thoughts. They can project into your mind. And man, Chris, you got to listen to it. It's either the next step in human evolution or something that we forgot from when we weren't able to talk, because they are absolutely communicating. And just to like, I can't even remember all of it, but everyone should listen to this one. It will blow your mind. And
What is it called?
the Telepathy tapes.
Okay.
And so they have a podcast right now where they talk to individuals who have sort of witnessed that. And the woman that was on, her first name's Kai. I can't remember her last name. I could look it up if we need, but it's very recent, so it should be easy to find if you listen to Joe Rogan, and that's only on Spotify. But like hearing that in like for the kids that have this ability, they don't give a shit if anybody believes them or not. Like they're not
Yeah.
out there trying to prove that they can do what they know they can do. But a lot of people, myself included, are sometimes skeptical and want to like have some facts around our stories.
I'm super skeptical.
Yeah. But like hearing her talk about that they have a mother and a son in the same room, and because Joe kept asking like how are they projecting the thoughts, like are they saying things in words, are they giving you the whole picture, like how is it happening? And she's like, I really don't know, except that I got two kind of stories from parents. One was that a woman was trying to on camera show that her son could read her thoughts, and they would show her a picture and he's in another room, and then he would write down what she sees. And she got showed a picture of red and yellow paint, and she wrote down ketchup and mustard, and he wrote down red and yellow paint. So not only is he seeing what she's seeing, but he understands it better than she does, and she's an adult. But just like,
that's wild.
Okay, so these kids, they have virtual meeting spaces that they call the Hill, and in their own mind, they travel and join other people and have discussions like we would on Twitter or whatever.
At a park, like an
yeah,
actual physical.
But it's actually virtual. There's nothing even digital about it. They're just meeting in
their minds.
In their minds, and they like.
How do they know that they're doing this though?
So one girl started talking about like telling her parents, these are autistic kids, so sometimes they can speak, sometimes they can't. Like saying to her parents, oh, I talked with this person and this person, and these are not names of people that are at her school or teachers, and they were like, what, who are these people? And she's like, oh, I met them on the Hill. They're going to these places. They're talking like one of the kids said, I go there because one of us likes to talk about time travel. He's able to time travel. Have you ever heard of remote viewing?
No.
And this one's a trip. You can look up some 6-year-old autistic kid, and he's not the only example, but a 6-year-old autistic kid gave an exact description of the far side of like Jupiter or Saturn that we had not even probed yet. And when we did probe it, it was exactly what he said.
Huh.
No, obviously, I mean, we've never sent a person to Mars. We barely got, maybe we got to the moon. We don't even know. But way out there, for sure, we did not. Anyway,
I'm sorry. Hold on. That's hilarious. Like, on the one hand, you're saying I'm making fun of you, but not.
Yeah,
But,
it's okay.
Yeah. So you're saying on the one hand, like telepathy, and this kid can see the other side of Jupiter, but I don't know if we've been to the moon.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've been to the moon either.
I'm really not sure. Yeah.
I'm not either. No, that was just funny. Like,
anyway, if you listen to
Keep going.
podcasts, it's a really good one. I listened to it a second time with
That's
Steph
super interesting.
while we were driving, because my hip surgery was in Colorado. So while we were driving back, we listened to that one for part of the drive, and she was equally blown away. Like, man, if that's so, they're filming for the podcast is happening, called the Telepathy Tapes. They're filming a documentary series on Netflix, and they started production, and they have like these telepathic kids helping with production.
So the Netflix thing, you can't watch any of that yet. It's not out yet, right?
The podcast is available.
Okay. I did look up their website real quick, the Telepathy Tapes.
Yep.
A podcast beyond words with Kai Dickens.
Yeah. And there's one
interesting,
neurally normal human being who has made it onto the hill, like these meeting places. He had a like end stage prostate cancer or pancreatic cancer, and he had some other very serious illness, and he decided that he was not going to go like traditional medicine. He was going to start changing things in his mind to get rid of what's going on in his body, and it worked. He's cancer free and he's alive. But in that process, I think there was a lot of meditation, and he made it to the hill as the only non-autistic person that's been there, and was like, they are just expanding love in these places. Like how did they define love? It was a really beautiful definition of what constitutes love. I need to listen to it again, obviously. But he said there's a gatekeeper, and the gatekeeper, he basically called it deity. And if your thoughts are not positive, you're not making it in there. Which, I mean, just so many interesting things out of a single podcast. Just a trip. So that one, if you have the time, it's worth listening to.
Yeah. So have you listened to any of the Telepathy Test podcast, or was that just Joe Rogan?
Just Joe Rogan. But that's definitely one that, like I try to listen to Huberman once in a while. Because I like his topics generally, but his voice just puts me to sleep. But I'm absolutely going to go find that one and listen to it. Just I mean, I'm not saying everything. There's a ton that I didn't say in their 3-hour podcast. It's pretty cool.
Interesting. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Awesome. Well, all right. Skydiving. I do want to talk a little bit about skydiving. And one thing, what was on my mind, I know that we have talked about in the past, but I think it's been a while. But just vertical flying, specifically head up, sit flying. Like, that's something obviously that everybody, pretty quickly after you get off student status, you're doing a lot of belly jumps, but pretty quickly most people are like, oh, I want to sit fly, which makes sense. It's super fun, right? So I just thought maybe we could touch base on that again, go back over some stuff just for people. It's springtime is right around the corner. A lot of drop zones down here. Well, we don't shut down during the winter, but people are going to be getting back into it. Maybe it's a good time to just kind of go over some stuff. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. I mean,
if you have something else on your mind that you want to talk about.
No, this is great. I think that one of the things that, especially newer people, allow to happen on their jumps is a loss of awareness of where everybody is on the jump. And also some really wildly ranging levels. And so, from sort of an organizer standpoint, um, there is the acronym of LSD that we've talked about before, level, slot, doc. So if anything, if any level is off, that's the first thing you focus on, is getting back to level with the leader, however that is. And I think that most people pretty quickly understand what a zoo dive is, and it feels like a zoo. And you should feel less safe on those jumps than you probably should be. And a lot of times I think newer jumpers, they don't know what they don't know. And so, oh, this is great. I'm kind of close. He's up there, and there's there, and I'm just one person. I don't even know where they are. And like, if that's what happened on your jump, that jump was too big. And so if you're not confident in your ability to move one direction or the other, you're not confident in your ability to control your fall rate to accommodate lighter and heavier jumpers or different jumpsuits or whatever. If you don't feel like you have the awareness yet of keeping track of 6 people, then two ways. Two ways are fantastic. And Lindsay, that we had on the show, that's a member of Matrix now, SDC Matrix. For years, when she was at Skydive Chicago, I mean, it was a joke between us. Lindsay, you want to come on our skydive? Nope. Jump with my husband. That's it. And she would just flat out turn down everyone. And she did 2 ways and 2 ways and 2 ways. And now she's graduated up to 3 ways because there's a camera flyer. But she does organizing, and she does jump in other facets. But her goal is to just have 2 ways, and she's really gotten good. I mean, she's a very good flyer at this point. And so you can get a ton out of those jumps, and you stay safe. And I think there's an interest on a lot of people's parts of like, oh, I want to go on a 10-way. And man, that happens way before it should.
Yeah.
And people don't appreciate, I think, the complications that can come up. So
Yeah. Well, on the zoo dive thing, I think that's worth maybe even discussing a little bit more right now, because a lot of the times the way that people talk about zoo dives is almost as if it's kind of like a funny thing.
mm,
It's like, oh yeah, that was a zoo dive. Oh man, Now, more if you hear someone not talking about zoo dive and they're like got to look like what you have on your face right now, that means they've been around for a while and they realize, dude, zoo dives are not fun. That's actually not funny at all. Um, but when you're newer and just getting into the sport, you don't recognize all the dangers. So I mean, maybe you can kind of go through that a little bit more. You touched on some of the stuff, but really help some of our listeners understand that it is actually very dangerous.
yeah.
Why? What are all the things?
Well, I mean, if you're going to start in a smaller group, then like a 2-way, then the biggest thing I'd say is that you guys need to be aware of your alignment relative to jump run, because it's real easy to focus on each other, and backsliding in a sit is very, very common, and you can cover a lot of ground if you have a strong backslide. So being aware of what jump run is and the alignment that you take out of the plane, which if it's perfect, that means that, say, the plane's arbitrarily going north, that you would face east or west, one of you, if it's 2-way, one of you each, and then hold that heading so that if you are moving across the sky, it's not up or down jump run. And so that's, I'd say, a very basic place to start. As far as maybe the starting point of the exit, like if you imagine that you get outside the plane, one of you's holding on right, one of you's holding on left, you're facing each other, you lift your leg up, you are sit flying to the earth at that point because the plane's wings are level relative to the earth, and the relative wind is coming from the front. So you need to take that, I got too many fingers in the way, but that sort of seated position that of standing there and go into the relative wind as you leave. So one person would lean back a little bit, one person would lean forward quite a bit. And then once you're sort of off the plane and comfortable, then you would turn 90 degrees and carry on with your skydive. Once you get into bigger groups, even 3 or more, then I think it is really critical to establish who's the base person. And that, in my opinion, should be probably, if there's 3 people, and either one of the stronger people, like they know they can fly straight down, they know they can hold a consistent heading, they know that they can hold a consistent fall rate. And that can be a little bit boring. And so if you're paying for that slot and you're just going to sit there and be a space ball that other people try to make it to, that it gets a, I mean, it just gets old if that's for you to keep paying for your slot to do that for other people. It helps their learning, but it's not doing a ton for you. But it is important in three or more to establish who is the base going to be. And at the very least, like sometimes it does make sense to say, oh, well, the base person is going to be this sort of newer person who can fall straight down, but they can't do much else. And so they don't mind just sitting there and laying base. But what's critical to that is that they actually can fall straight down, because if they're new, they don't understand their heading control and they're backsliding, and they don't even have the awareness to know that they're backsliding. Now, instead of one person going up jump run, you've got 3, 4, 5 going up jump run, and the
Mm-hmm.
odds are obviously way, way worse as far as having a negative interaction with a group either before or after you. So just making a sensible decision about who's going to be the base, and then sticking to that plan. It's so common. You get a 4-way, and well, I'm close to this guy, but the base is way over there, and so I'm just going to fly with this guy. That is a disaster waiting to happen. Like, you guys need to have that information beforehand and say, we're committed to this person being the base, and I'm gonna keep working towards that person, because if you start looking at this other guy, now you've got two ways in the space that was only supposed to have one group. And you don't have any idea what's going on with those other people. I mean, they could have had a preemie and be coming at you at a rate that's going to kill both of you. Like, you have to commit to the base person. And then at a minimum, I think our breakoff altitude of 5,000 feet is the absolute minimum for free flyers. I don't agree with 4 or 5, except maybe very special circumstances and some real ninjas. But for everybody else, it should go the other way. 6 grand. Not I don't want to say 6 is a minimum, but starting at 6, so that if your breakoff procedure is not super solid, like you've got to go, you not go into your belly, you hear your audible, you roll onto your back, stretch your body out, roll to your belly. You need that extra 1,000 feet to make sure that you get some distance between those other people before you deploy your canopy. Gives you a padding of, like, they should have gone, I don't know, northwest, but they're actually going south, and now we're both tracking together. But it gives you time to spread out a little bit. Should a mistake be made, which you got 4 people on a skydive, somebody's going to fuck up on that skydive. Like, it's just, that's human beings. And so, yeah, just some fundamentals of safety that really need to be strongly committed to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very, very helpful.
Yeah.
What about, let's just, can we go over just some of the basics of learning to sit fly, learning to fly head up? And I mean, what do you? I mean, we've talked so much about the tunnel and the value of the tunnel, and it is so much cheaper.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, to me, my thought is, if you want to learn to sit fly, like, get in the tunnel. Like, I'm almost saying, don't even waste your time trying to learn it in the sky. Now, once you've
Mm.
got a little bit in the tunnel where you've got some skills and a little bit of kind of the fundamentals, then yeah,
So
go for it.
I
And
would
I'm
go.
not talking about from a safety reason, but just go ahead.
Well, just to your point that you don't want to say it's a waste of time, it's worse than a waste of time,
Mm.
because you don't have the reference, you don't have the coach. You develop these bad habits that then you do go in the tunnel, and the first however many sessions are trying to break those bad habits that you don't need to have from the beginning. If somebody just shows you in the beginning, this is the
Mm-hmm.
right body position, uh, what else do you have to know at that moment? You acknowledge, I don't know anything. I have never sit flown before. Like, the best thing you can possibly do when you want to try a new body position is go back in the tunnel, hire a coach, and get the fundamentals of that body flight type from your coach, and then go back in the sky and make a bunch of mistakes and undo the things they tried to do. But if you just, I'm a good learner and I don't want to pay whatever $500 for half an hour of tunnel time, I'd rather go pay $60 to go have fun on Saturday. You just paid $60 to go in the wrong direction, and
Mm.
you're going to have to undo. So not only did you not pay the 500, each time you go do that other thing, you tack on more to the 500. Where if you just spent 500 in the beginning for a half an hour,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's a lot, right?
Dude,
A
you could
half an
learn
hour
so
of sit
much in
flying, you're
half
going
an
to be
hour. Oh
smoked.
my gosh.
But
You could learn so
then
much.
you're going to actually be a safe skydiver on the actual skydives
Mm-hmm.
that you want to go to. And it's not going to be like, well, I can kind of sit fly and I'm going to be zooming all over the sky and I don't know where everybody else is. And like, that's a disaster. Your awareness is going to grow. Like, I would say 100%. Like, would you tell somebody these days with the ubiquity of tunnels and the ease with which people can make it to a tunnel, your friend is going to do AFF? Bro, let's go fly right now. Like,
Go get in the
you're
tunnel
scheduled next week.
first.
We're going to do 15, 20 minutes. I'm going to show you a few things. Your AFF is going to be a breeze because
So easy.
they have an idea in their mind about what skydiving is supposed to look like. And you got to break
Yeah.
that because it's probably wrong.
Yeah.
But that's so easy to do because they're not really committed to that idea. It's just whatever
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
idea germinated in their brain. So yeah, I disagree with you that it's not a waste of their time. It is absolutely a waste. You are costing yourself way more money by trying to wing it on
Mm.
your own. And I know people. I mean, look at Rook. He's got 26,000 jumps. There was no tunnel when he started skydiving. There's winging it, flying on your
Yeah.
own was the only way to do it. And they literally flew head down like this, like that. This is what somebody said was the good thing. He still does it
With your hands
sometimes. Like
above your head.
being on the team, he would go pieces, every once in a while. I just feel like, bro, you're 10 years younger than me and hilariously older than me.
I'm gonna try to do that.
Man, it's hard.
Fly like that.
Like next time you work in the tunnel, just hop
I'm
in on
not
your,
doing it in the tunnel. I'm
yeah,
not
try
doing
it.
that in the tunnel.
Try and
I,
touch the net with, just put
oh,
one hand first for
I
sure.
have. Okay, I actually have done that.
It's
Yeah.
hard,
It's very hard.
man.
Well, I end up just holding on to the net is what I do.
Yeah, that too. But if you just try and like lightly dust your hands across the tunnel or the net as you
The
get
net.
putting both hands up is hard.
Okay, I have to put on a baggy suit because I'm in that 12-footer.
Oh, right. Yeah. Well, someday you'll come to Abu Dhabi and you can carve around a
Oh
32-foot
well.
tunnel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what about? I wonder if we could do this. Could you? When was the last time that you coached someone on sit flying, like brand new to sit flying? Like
I mean, that happens,
they've got belly and back, but how often
yeah,
do you do that?
all the time because we do
All the time.
tunnel with the
Okay.
military groups we're with, and invariably they want to progress.
Sure.
They don't want to just belly fly if they're good enough to get through the course, or some of the guys who have actually graduated onto being operators.
Yeah.
They want to
Yeah.
free fly, and a
Sure.
lot of them are real good at it. And
Okay.
so
Well.
I take guys that have done some belly flying and they're like, well, I've never even back flown. So still on a pretty regular basis, I'm working with those kind of people.
Okay. So could we do this? Let's say you've taken me through all the back flying stuff, and I'm good with my back flying. I'm ready to start sit flying. Take me through just like your briefing process. We've got plenty of time. What are you gonna? Can we do that right now?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the first thing that we're going to do, and at least if you're getting coaching from me, like when you say, I'd like to start back flying, or I'd like to do whatever the next thing is from belly flying. Okay, cool. We're going to back fly. And I don't need to go through the whole progression on back fly, but every time that you get into the tunnel on your back with me, you're also going to learn how to come up to your feet. And that's something that people don't really think about too much. But when we start learning to backfly, you're going to fall a bunch of times. And so the first skill set is actually not backflying. It's the transition from your back to your feet, where you can do that safely. And as you and every other tunnel instructor alive is aware, when people do that, they're going to overexpose their hips. They're going to drive towards you. They're going to try and make you a meat puppet in between them and the wall. And hopefully you can bear hug them and slow that down before you break something against the glass. But people have to, I mean, it's overexposing your hips is a very effective way to come up from the net, but usually much too effective as far as the lift and drive that you get. So that's going to be the first part of that process. But it starts from the very first backfly session. And I don't need to necessarily explain to everybody that this is your wax on, wax off moment of like, we're going to put this to use later. I just tell them what I want them to do and make them do it. Otherwise, if we went from backflying to sit without that transition, what's going to happen? I mean, I'm just going to end up picking that dude up off the net a thousand
Mm-hmm.
times. And I don't really feel like doing that. I mean, I want people to have that transition on their own.
Yeah.
But once we
And
get to,
he's gonna waste a ton of time.
oh, yeah, so I have now wasted his time
Yeah.
by not showing him what he needed.
Not teaching him that skill. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, as far as getting to sit flying, I think the general concept, and one of the reasons why I think head up flying is easier for people at the start, is that it's 90 degrees at the knee. Oh, you know what? I got one of those articulating dudes, but I haven't put it together yet. I'll have that ready for next week. But 90s at the knees and at the hips, and then a slight curve to your upper back where your head and shoulders are back from your hips. So it looks a little bit like that with 90-degree bends. So I'm kind of over 90 at the hip
Mm-hmm.
there, but can be
Yeah.
a little bit bigger. And just trying to understand in the very beginning, like a good solid beginning arm position and a good solid intro to what your chest does for you.
Okay. When you say good solid arm position, what does that
A
mean?
lot of people want to push down and back on the wind,
Mm-hmm.
which will make you go down and back. It doesn't actually provide a lot of lift. And if you think about the imaginary lines of the horizontal and the vertical, when you reach anything towards the vertical, if you put that down, you're telling the wind, I want that part to accelerate. So I'm trying to push down like you would off the floor, but then actually what I'm saying is, let me accelerate towards the floor. And so I want people kind of with a Jesus take the rears in the very beginning, where their hands are up over their head, so that when they get to the point where they're going to bring your arms in for lift, that you kind of just roll your elbows back, and it gives you a nice sternum presentation. This is what I feel like I see out of a ton of people when I'm going to learn this on my own in the sky, and breaking that can be really difficult.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is a starting arm position for me when I'm coaching beginner sit, and then really focusing on like, hey man, if I took a plunger and jabbed it into your chest and then pulled really sharply, that chest forward, head back that you would get is what I want you to keep all the time. And in fairness, I don't fly like that at all times.
Yeah.
But that's a intro to sit flying. Eventually, you don't
Right.
have to have a massive chest position, and you're doing other things correctly.
Yeah. Yeah. What are okay? So you mentioned besides the arms back and down, what are some other things that you deal with on a regular basis for brand new sit flyers, and how do you deal with them?
I mean, I think the biggest thing, I don't know that I've ever coached somebody who was leaning back in a way that I thought, oh, that's counterproductive. But
Mm,
so many people that have their legs wide and are putting their chest in the wind, and that
mm,
creates an angle. If this is the angle and your head is looking this way, you're going this way. And that's another one that I think people in the sky, when there's no walls, they don't get it.
yeah, they just
I'm
don't
doing
realize.
great. I'm sit flying. This is awesome.
Hmm.
But you're rocketing around. You're basically on a head up angle with no no real heading control, no awareness that the angle is happening. Like just
Hmm.
if that should be the big selling point, is if you spend the $500 to go get a half an hour coaching from a qualified coach, you are so much safer on your skydives after that. And it'll become so clear to you because you'll see these other guys who didn't want to spend that money, and
Hmm.
they're just, you're like, fuck man, this is crazy. This is crazy.
Yeah.
Stop doing that. Like, can we just go straight down the tube? Like, I don't want to be going in 12 different directions right now.
Hmm.
And that's I think a good reinforcement when you do see that. Sadly, it's a little bit sad that you spent your money well, and made wise choices with your own safety.
Okay. What about wind speed? When you're teaching someone to sit fly, what do you like to do? How do you use the wind to help them learn? Whether it's fast, slow, whatever. What do you do?
It's as slow as I can make it, and they can still hold the position with a correct body position.
Okay.
Where if
Why?
they demonstrate like a chest in, they're falling on the net. The wind is not
Uh huh.
propping them up in a shitty body position. And then the second criteria is, until they can prove that they can come up from from their back to their feet without overexposing their hips, they get no more wind. Uh, and and that I think for some people has felt like I'm holding them back.
Mm-hmm.
But if I give people who do that enough wind speed where it's actually a problem, and even if I'm still standing in front of them, I mean, the best thing I can do is just step out of the way, as opposed to like trying to grab them. Or, I mean, imagine that somebody's rocketing up to me on a head up angle and I grab their feet and just pivot their face into the glass. Like, at least if I get out of the way, their feet hit first and they have a chance of just breaking their toes, and not smashing the hell out of their face when they get to the glass. So if you can't make that transition without opening up your hips, there's no more wind until you can. At least not with me.
Yeah. And so then what about progression as far as like getting getting them to learn the controls, forward, backward, turns, stuff like that? What do
Yep.
you do?
First way I have people learn forward and back is with their chest, so that they'll understand what that input is. And if they go in the sky and lean forward, I'm going to be backsliding. But if you take away the good and bad and you just teach them, hey, this does this and this does this. If you want to go forward,
Mm,
you got to lean back a little bit. If you want to go backwards, you got to lean forward a little bit. So we'll just hop across the tunnel together and hop back. And
mm-hmm.
turning, I usually teach people with their feet first, their legs first, where I'll just stand them up at kind of a belly speed, like we're both standing on the net. Okay, lift
Okay.
one leg up, and now put an angle to that leg that's up, and just it just turns them around, and they're like, oh God, I'm turning. And so okay, switch legs, do the exact same thing. Cool. Okay, now let's fly a little bit and just a tiny little bit. Put your leg out and just watch them make a really slow turn one way and a really slow turn the other way. And usually that's the wind speed's not high enough that they could get all the way around 360, but they'll go
Mm,
90 and then hop up again and turn a little bit and hop up again. Basically, I I I believe in the IBA progression as far as wind speed goes. Some of the stuff in the progression I disagree with, but the way that it's structured is logical and sensible to me.
mm.
So lower wind
Yeah.
speeds whenever possible.
Nice. Very good. Super helpful.
The most
I love it that,
consequential hour you're going to spend this week.
yeah. I think it's I like all the simple the simple drills and things that instructors have at their disposal, like that, just pick up one foot and angle it a tiny bit, like,
Yeah,
and there's so many of those things that I've learned from so many different people. And then I realize, oh, these are like, this is what everybody's, not everybody, but a lot of the first gen, second gen instructors who were around at the beginning, they've all got these things that they learned from one another. And like, you guys kind of had to figure a lot of that stuff out and then share it with
yeah,
one another and talk and be like, hey, I'm doing this, this works, and that's really cool. It's
yeah,
fun.
yeah. Best thing about knowledge is you can give it away and still have it.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember when I don't know, I may have told you this at some point, but when I was I'd been an instructor for probably like a couple years, and there was a new instructor, a guy, and he and I hit it off. Became friends right away. And um, he's a military guy, but came to work at the tunnel, and just a quick learner too. And I was coaching somebody back flying, and he was at the point where he was coaching back flying also at that point,
Mm,
but he was still much less experienced than me. And he told me, he's like, hey dude, if you I saw you like trying to teach that person like back flying, but to move toward their feet,
mm,
right? And he goes, you know what I've been doing, and it works really well. I was like, what? He goes, just tell them to drop their feet down, and just tell them, drop your feet down and see what happens. I was like, what? He goes, I'm telling you, dude, just do that. I was like, okay. So my next student, I told him, I was like, just put your feet down and see what happens. And they went, it's like, dude, I used your trick. That is so awesome. Like, and he's like, yeah, so some other instructor, older instructor, like, had told him, and then he told me, it works so well. It's
yeah.
so cool.
Man, when I work around Ray or I work around Jason Peters or some of the oldest of old school instructors, I'm not looking at the student really at all. I'm just looking at them. I want to grab their toolkit and make it part of mine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
dude, I think I really I hope that at some point, Crave, that we can do a course on coaching.
Mm. God, there'd be so
Like,
many good people to talk to.
there'd be so many,
Yeah.
so many. Um, and maybe it's just need to get everybody to make their own and send them in or something. I don't know, but man, yeah, and so much knowledge just from all those coaches how to be a good coach, like even just the mindset and how you should think about teaching others, but also the actual practical skills of what they tell and teach and do. And like even a lot of the stuff that you were just saying a second ago, so beneficial. If all these coaches everywhere knew all that stuff, it'd be so great.
Imagine if you got, say, 20 coaches to come just answer the questions that you asked me. You you know, how do you start people backflying? What are the key points of backflying? What what's some philosophy there? What, you've got some sort of stock questions for everybody.
Yeah.
And then for people that order your service, to see the commonality, because physics is physics. I mean, we're all
Mm-hmm.
talking about pushing wind in one way or the other, but that's all we do. And there's so many similarities, but sometimes the words are a little bit different that we use, and they get into your brain a little bit better than
Mm-hmm.
the way that I said it or whatever. But man, I think that'd be super interesting to let people create their
Yeah.
own course for coaching. That'd be awesome.
I think it'd be super cool.
All right, man. It's an hour and 12 minutes.
Yeah.
You have not done it again. You've productively spent an hour with Chris and JRuss.
That's right.
And I'm just going to give a quick shout out to my boy Keith George. We're going to have dinner with him right after we're done. He was on our podcast. He's the owner of Skydive
He
Midwest. And
was.
yeah,
That's right.
he's working out here as well.
Cool.
Cool, man. So for all of our listeners, thanks for joining us again. And, the whole idea behind Crave is to get out there and have fun with your friends in a safe way. Uh, being the skydivers that we all are, and enjoying living in the moment, and getting through that in the safest way possible. So thanks for joining us. And
Yeah. And hey, like I said earlier, seriously, if you want to send in, email me if you had a malfunction or you made a mistake and you want to share it so we can all learn from it. I'll read through them and maybe we'll have you on the show and we can talk about it and help the community. Just email me, chris@cravetofly.com.
cool. So thanks for being with us, and keep your commitment to doing more and being better on Crave. Thanks,
There you
everybody.
go. All right. See ya.
See ya.